What was supposed to be a celebration of culture, history, and trade was turned into a circus by the opposition leader Penelope Beckles and her members of parliament. What was done while Prime Minister Modi was visiting Trinidad and Tobago should be something that should be etched in the brain of every Hindu national and every Trinbagonian national going forward. What the opposition leader did, she should be held accountable for, and she should be made to apologize to the nation and apologize to the Hindu community because it was in very poor taste. Imagine being under Keith Christopher Rowley for 9 years and knowing that you can't protest, you couldn't say anything. Anytime you come out in the streets to stand up against anything, you were met with police and tear gas. And if David Welch didn't get arrested, your protest wasn't a protest. But here it is, we have a head of state visiting our country, doing trade, doing business, meeting with the Hindu community, giving them a taste of their ancestral roots, a trip down memory lane. And what does the opposition, what does the PNM choose to do? Vilify it. Make it into a whole big circus, calling a protest why this man is visiting here. I sat down thinking, what would happen if Kamla Prasad Bisesa was to do something like that, or even attempt something like that under the Keith Christopher Rowley government, where we weren't allowed to protest? They would have basically, the news articles would have read, Kamla Prasad Bisesa stirs up a protest while a head of state is here. The propaganda machines would want to have her head. They would be demanding that what she did was distasteful. But here it is, there's no uproar for what Penelope Beckles did, or at least no uproar from the Hindu community. I think it's because them and all still in shock, because nobody wasn't expecting her to actually do that. I saw the clip where she said, we were supposed to go and sit and eat, but we decided to come here and be with you all in this protest. And I'm thinking, you're using a handful of black people, a handful of CPEP workers who just don't know better, to carry on a narrative that was so disgusting and distasteful that if the shoe was on the other foot, we wouldn't have done here about it. But here it is, she was allowed to do it. She was allowed to have her way. This was a cultural agreement. What the Hindu community got was a chance to see a leader, to hear about the culture, to hear about the ancestral passage, something that, the Afro-based community has never really gotten an opportunity to experience. The Hindu community is more in touch with the roots and the ancestral travels and connections more to this day than the African community. We are still mental slaves. In some cases, the chains was just taken off of our hands and our legs and put on our mind. We are now slaves to black slave masters who convince us that they love us. Our children don't know anything about their ancestors. And in most cases, they're not interested in learning. There's a disassociation that is there. But when I sat down and I looked at everything, at how the Hindu community was so excited, the cycling ring was rampack. I was like, this is culture. This is what it's supposed to be. This is the essence of their roots. Looking at Prime Minister's Modi age and Kamla Prasad's Bisesa age, them being a year apart. One from the ancestral island and one family to ancestor that came here as an indentured laborer. Why even think about doing something like that on that day? It was utterly distasteful. But you see, sometimes bad things just had to happen in order for you to see the good. Because you see, why Penelope Beckles' sole intent was to sow the seeds of discord and upset something that was supposed to be a beautiful event, recognizing the Hindu community. When they even went as far as to cut a clip of Prime Minister Modi greeting those 3 children on the bottom of the airfield, on the bottom of the strip, to paint a narrative that the black boy was treated unfairly, that he was pushed aside and hidden to the back.
As his feet lands on the soil of Trinidad today.
Yes, we have that first exchange with the Honorable Kamla Prasad Visesa, presenting a Prime Minister Modi with a bouquet of flowers. And then we have young Mr. I believe it's Zayden. And there he's posing for a shot. Simply admiring his attire. I can see that Prime Minister Modi has a sense of the occasion as well, and he's even directing individuals to where they should be posing with him for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
I totally agree with you.
So that the 2 Indian boys could stand next to the Prime Minister, when in reality they were just shifting him around because he had given his flower and they were making space for them to set them back up so that all 3 of them could take a picture with him. This is how far the PNM went to paint a racial narrative and put a disgusting spin on what was supposed to be a ceremonial time for the Hindu community. But like I said, out of all the darkness, light came. Because you see, what Penelope Beckles was not expecting to happen when she did that was for black people, Trinbagonians in general, to see that democracy had returned. Because you see, if Kamla Prasad Visesa had tried to do something like that under Keith Christopher Rowley, police would have shown up. They would have been arrested on site. David Welch would have made a jail. It would have been confusion, tear gas, people getting roughed up. But Kamla Prasad Visesa didn't do that. What Kamla Prasad Visesa did instead was allow them to have their protests. They didn't even have a permit. You all remember that? In order to have a protest now, you need to get a permit from the Commissioner of Police. That was Keith law. But here it is. The opposition was able to start a protest without even having a permit. Keith Scotland leading the charge. We will walk, we will walk. Take a look at the clip.
As if we just walk in. Yes, nobody could stop us from walking. Put away the placards and we just follow we lead. We walk in one behind the other. They can't stop me. One behind the other. One behind the Must walk.
We must.
Must walk. You can't stop me from walking.
Can't stop me from walking. Can't stop us.
No.
We will walk. They can't do us anything for walking. Set a Judas. Kamla let them go ahead and keep the protests. So what was supposed to look really distasteful and make the opposition look like they're on top and they so care about the people, end up making them look like fools because Kamala Prasad Bisasa allowed them to do it, showing that, listen, I'm not going to fight you all. Freedom of speech is here. Democracy is here. You all are entitled to protest any day of the week. I'm not stopping you all. And boy, did it backfire because the nation was not fooled. Instead, the citizens of the country, both Afro and Indo, was highly disgusted by what the opposition did. It shows that where we thought it was a case that Keith Rowley was the only one who didn't have empathy, and me counting on Penelope Beckles to be an empathetic leader, and that things was actually going to change, it showed that she isn't any different from Keith. Because for you to choose to keep a protest, and I don't know who put the idea in her head. I'm not sure who running that party right now. But for you to choose to do a protest on such a ceremonious day for the Hindu community is a spit in their face. It was utterly distasteful and extremely disrespectful. And you only did it because you knew, you fully well knew the attention it would give you all. We had big news networks as big as WION, one of the largest news networks in the world, covering that Prime Minister Modi was in Trinidad. And you all tried to derail that by keeping up protests. It says a lot. It says a lot about the opposition, and it says a lot of how low you all are willing to go to get some kind of energy or play going. But the citizens aren't being fooled. If it's anything, you're just disgusting them with what you all are doing. And this is something, you know, we could have used this as a learning opportunity for us. Because we have been pulled away from our ancestral roots so much. Because the slave chains, they're still there, you know. They're just up here now. We could have used this opportunity to say, you know what? After Prime Minister Modi leaves, let's bring an African leader to Trinidad. Let's teach our people about their culture. Let's bring back that. The Indo community is so close to their roots. Why have we shifted so far away from ours? How can we tap back into that pipeline? But no. Instead of going and sit, because that is what Penelope Beckles said, eh? She said, we were supposed to go and eat with them, but instead we choose to come out here and protest with you all. That was her words. So instead of you going and sit and dine with the PM and our Prime Minister, you chose to come outside and incite a protest to undermine every effort that the current Prime Minister was doing, thinking that the citizens would rally behind you all for that by using a handful of misguided individuals, CPEP workers who just don't even understand what the opposition is trying to do for them. I have to say that whatever hope I had in Penelope Beckles, it went out the door when she did that. I was hoping that I wouldn't have to go in on Penelope Beckles as hard as I would go in on Keith Rowley. But I see now that that is what I will have to do, because she has shown me that her intention to lead the PNM is exactly the same method of leadership that Keith Christopher Rowley had. And because of that, whatever little hope I had that maybe this chapter of PNM would be different, it has just went out the door. I think she owes the nation an apology. I think she owes the Hindu community an apology. And we probably might not get it, but I want you all to understand that I felt that what she did was extremely distasteful. And something like that should never be allowed to happen again. But that's just my thought on it. If you made it this far in the video, like, share, and subscribe. Make a better version of yourself every day. And let we have a discussion in the comment section. And most importantly, I think I'm just going to ask this at the end here. I want to know how often you all would want to see videos put up. I've been spacing them out a bit longer. I want to give you all an opportunity to find out if you all would like the videos to be increased, if you all want 2 or 3 more within a week or 2 a day. And I want to know if you all will be interested in like a live show, where we have a live show broadcast at night where you all could call in and we could speak and have conversations about the things that affect Trinidad and Tobago on a daily basis. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. And again, make a better version of yourself every day. I'm gone.